black CEO tested her own dealership in disguise 5 minutes. Later, half the staff were gone. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's video, I need your help. We've noticed that the channel is losing traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can help us. It's quick, free, and allows us to continue bringing you great content. Your support means everything. Let's keep this channel growing collectively. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get back to the story. The sound of polished heels against marble broke the hum of the showroom. Ava Johnson stood at the center of the floor, dark burgundy dress, calm eyes, steady breath. Every spotlight overhead framed her like an accusation. Across from her, a woman in a pearl suit pointed sharply toward the door. "Security, get her out." The words hit the air like a slap. A guard hesitated, glancing between them. Behind him, 3 salesmen in tailored suits chuckled over champagne, amusement curling at the corners of their mouths. The manager, confident and crisp, didn't lower her voice. She wanted everyone to hear. "This is a luxury dealership," she said. "We don't do test drives for walk-ins." No one moved. Only Ava's stillness filled the silence. Her gaze didn't flicker. Her posture didn't bend. Inside, she felt the old ache of familiarity. The memory of standing in another showroom years ago told the same words by a different face. But this time was different. This time, the building was hers. Before we continue, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you believe in dignity and justice, hit like and subscribe. These stories spark change. And we're glad you're here. Now, back to Ava. The guard shifted his weight, uneasy. "Ma'am, I just need to escort you outside," he said softly. But the manager snapped. "Don't talk to her, just move her." A ripple of laughter followed from the men near the cars, one whispering, "She probably walked in here by mistake." Ava's eyes moved toward the nearest display, a white Bentley with her initials etched discreetly on the license frame. She almost smiled. "Almost. Do you know who I am?" she asked quietly. The manager scoffed. "Another influencer with attitude? Please, step aside before I call the police." The laughter grew. Cameras on the ceiling reflected their mockery back at them, silent witnesses to arrogance. Ava didn't blink. She reached into her pocket, pressed a single button on her phone. Somewhere behind the tinted office glass, a system chimed. A small voice answered through her earpiece, crisp and composed. "Protocol 4 activated, ma'am." The manager froze. "What did you just do?" Ava looked her straight in the eye. "Exactly what you would have done if you owned this place." The laughter died. The security guard's radio crackled. In the back office, computer screens shifted from sales dashboards to a message in white text. "Executive owner present. Staff conduct under review." The champagne glasses stopped midair. Someone whispered, "Wait, what?" Ava took one step forward, voice level, and measured. "You just ordered security to remove the woman who signs your paychecks." Silence. Even the hum of air conditioning seemed to bow. The manager's mouth opened, but no words came out. Ava turned slowly, letting the quiet do its work. The showroom's gleam no longer felt bright, it felt exposed. She exhaled once, calm and deliberate. 5 minutes, she said. "That's all it takes to see who people really are." Then she walked toward the center office, the one with her name on the frosted glass door. And for the first time that morning, no one dared to stop her. 10 minutes earlier, before the laughter and the orders, before anyone realized who she was, Ava Johnson had simply walked through the glass doors like any other customer. It was 9:52 a.m. The morning sun poured across the polished cars like liquid gold. The dealership smelled of new leather and money, the kind that assumed it could choose who deserved to touch it. Ava moved quietly. No entourage, no designer bag, just a small clutch and calm in her step. She wore simplicity the way others wore armor. A salesman near the front desk looked up, smiled out of habit, then let it fade when he saw her dress was plain and her shoes unbranded. He didn't even greet her. Instead, he turned to greet a white couple entering behind her with a louder, "Welcome in. How can I help you folks today?" Ava didn't react. She had expected that. It was the same tone she'd once heard when she was 22, fresh out of grad school, trying to buy her first car on her own. the same tone that told her success had to look a certain way to be believed. She approached the reception counter. "Good morning," she said, voice even. "I'm here to look at the Continental GT model." The receptionist blinked, hesitant. "That's a high-tier vehicle," she said slowly. "Do you have an appointment?" Ava smiled softly. "Let's pretend I don't. What happens then?" The receptionist frowned. "Then I'd need to call a manager." "Please do." Moments later, the woman in pearls arrived. Nancy, showroom manager, 48, practiced in polished discrimination. Her perfume entered before she did. "Ma'am," Nancy began, her tone rehearsed politeness over irritation. "These models aren't for casual viewing. They require financial verification before a test drive." Ava tilted her head. "Financial verification?" Nancy nodded tightly. "Yes. Proof of income, ownership, or at least a banking statement. I'm sure you understand." "I do," Ava said, still smiling. "I understand perfectly." Her eyes swept the room, the salesman chatting by the champagne bar, the way one leaned toward another and whispered something that made both smirk. She caught the word rental on his lips. Her smile didn't move. "You said your name was Nancy, right?" The manager straightened slightly. "Yes, that's correct." "Good," Ava replied. "Then let's make sure we remember that." Nancy blinked, unsure what she meant, and turned sharply toward a younger employee. "Get security on standby." Ava took a slow breath. Not anger, just clarity. She'd built this company on fairness, on the belief that talent could outlast prejudice. But now, standing in the showroom, she saw what had grown beneath her brand's polished glass, assumption disguised as professionalism. In the corner, a young trainee Darius watched everything, his jaw tight. He recognized her face from the company's internal newsletter, but fear kept his mouth closed. As Nancy dismissed Ava with a dismissive wave, Darius quietly checked the schedule. There it was. Executive owner site visit. Confidential. His throat tightened. He looked up, caught Ava's calm gaze, and for a second, she seemed to know he'd seen it. Her look said, "Not yet." The salesman laughed again near the Bentley, one whispering, "She'll never even touch the keys." Nancy turned, smiling sweetly like victory. "Ma'am, I'll have to ask you to step outside if you're not here for an appointment." Ava's phone vibrated once in her pocket. A message flashed from Carla. "Ready when you are." She placed her hand over it, silent, letting the insult finish echoing in the air, before replying quiet, measured, dangerous. "I am here for an appointment," she said finally. Nancy frowned. "With who?" Ava's gaze lifted toward the glass office in the center of the room, the one with her name etched on the door. "With myself." And before the meaning could sink in, the screen cut to black. The voiceover returned. "Some people test cars, others test character." When the lights of the showroom hit her face again, Ava was already surrounded. Nancy's heels clicked like gavel strikes as she approached, trailed by two senior salesmen, Marcus and Jeff, both with the kind of confidence that came from never being told no. The air was sharp with perfume and pride. "Miss, you've been warned once," Nancy began, folding her arms. "We can't have unverified visitors wandering near our vehicles." Ava's eyes flicked to the white Bentley, its reflection cutting through the glass floor. "I asked to see a model," she replied evenly. "That's what this place is for, isn't it?" Jeff laughed under his breath. "Sure, but those models start at 200 grand. You renting or just window shopping?" Marcus added with a grin. She probably saw the Instagram ad and thought it was open house day. The laughter wasn't loud, but it carried sharp, brittle, echoing between the cars like metal on tile. Nearby, the young trainee Darius stood stiff, trying not to react. His hand hovered near the monitor, where Ava's name still glowed faintly on the schedule. Nancy leaned closer, voice lowering. "Look, sweetheart, I don't want to embarrass you, but this area's for clients with appointments. The lounge next door has free coffee." Ava's expression didn't change. She turned her gaze to Darius, then back to Nancy. "Coffee's not what I came for." Nancy exhaled through her nose, her patience fraying. "Then what exactly did you come for?" "To see how you treat people." The words landed soft, but they cut through the room like a quiet blade. Jeff snorted, muttering, "She's one of those mystery shoppers." Marcus laughed, more like a mystery itself. Nancy straightened. Security, she called toward the back office. Please step forward. The guard appeared again, tall, uncertain, his eyes darting between them. Darius swallowed. His pulse pounded in his ears. He could hear his conscience arguing with his fear. He wanted to speak, to say her name out loud, but Nancy's glare pinned him silent. Then Ava moved not away, but closer. One slow, deliberate step. Her calm unsettled them more than any argument could. Do you know what this company was built on? She asked. Marcus chuckled. Luxury, not lectures. She ignored him. It was built on respect, on a promise that no one gets treated differently for what they wear, or how they look, when they walk through that door. Nancy crossed her arms tighter. Spare me the speech. You're not the first person to play victim here. Maybe, Ava said quietly, but I'll be the last one who needs to. For a beat, the room froze. The only sound was the faint hum of an idling engine from the service bay. Nancy turned to the guard, frustrated. Escort her out, before this turns into a scene. Closen. The guard hesitated. Are you sure, ma'am? She hasn't done anything. That's an order, Nancy snapped. Darius's voice broke through before he could stop himself. She's on the schedule. The words rang out like an alarm. Everyone turned. Nancy's brow furrowed. What did you say? He swallowed hard. Her name. It's right there. Ava Johnson, executive owner visit. A silence fell heavy and immediate. The guard blinked. Marcus's smirk vanished. Nancy's face flushed. Denial tripping over pride. That's impossible. But Ava was already watching her. Still calm. Still unshaken. The phone in her hand buzzed once. A small notification glowed. Protocol 4 confirmed. System live. Ava met Nancy's eyes. You wanted verification, she said. You're about to get it. Quote. And as the dealership's digital screens flickered, and the logo on the main display shifted to executive audit mode, the laughter that once filled the room drained away, leaving only the sound of reality catching up. The room went still, as if someone had cut the oxygen. Every screen in the showroom blinked twice, then displayed the company logo followed by a message in stark white letters. Internal conduct review. Live session initiated. Nancy's jaw tightened. Turn that off. She snapped at the nearest salesman. Jeff fumbled with the tablet, but the controls had frozen. In the reflection of a chrome fender, Ava's calm face appeared beside the trembling cursor. You're wasting your time, she said softly. It's linked directly to headquarters. Darius felt his heartbeat in his throat. He had never seen anything like it. He looked from the screens to Ava, to the others who now stood motionless, eyes darting like trapped birds. Nancy turned on him, voice sharp. What did you do? You brought her in here, didn't you? No, Darius stammered. She came in alone. I just saw her name in the system. In the system? Nancy repeated, her tone dripping with disbelief. Yes, he said louder this time. Executive owner visit. I didn't think. You didn't think, Nancy hissed. And now we've got some hacker triggering alarms in my showroom. Ava's tone remained calm, nearly kind. I told you, Nancy. I came to see how you treat people. That made Marcus laugh, nervous but defiant. Okay, this is insane. No way she's an owner. Owners don't walk in here dressed like. He stopped himself, but it was too late. The words hung in the air like smoke. Ava turned toward him slowly. Like what? She asked. Marcus tried to recover. I just meant well, not like someone who doesn't belong, she finished. No one spoke. Even the hum of the ceiling lights seemed quieter now. From the front entrance, a soft chime sounded as the glass doors opened. A woman in a charcoal suit entered, moving with purpose. Carla, Ava's executive assistant. She held a tablet close to her chest, her badge visible. Morning, she said evenly. Corporate oversight protocol confirmed. Miss Johnson, we're recording. Nancy blinked. Miss Johnson? Her eyes darted between Ava and Carla. Wait, what did you call her? Carla didn't answer. She simply tapped the tablet, and the nearest screen shifted from the dealership logo to a live corporate feed. A voice came through the speakers. This is headquarters compliance. Proceeding with observation. Darius looked around, stunned. His instinct told him to step back, but his conscience anchored him to the floor. Nancy turned pale. This This is a setup. You're trying to humiliate us. Ava tilted her head. No, Nancy. You did that yourself. Quote. Behind her, Jeff muttered something under his breath. Unbelievable. Ava heard it anyway. Yes, she said softly. It usually is, isn't it? That a black woman could own something this polished. Her words hit harder than if she'd shouted. Carla raised her eyes from the tablet. Miss Johnson, would you like me to proceed? Not yet, Ava replied. Let's hear them first. Nancy stepped forward, her confidence cracking. If this is real, if you're truly who you say you are, why come in here pretending? Why play games? Because, Ava said, taking a slow step closer, you can't fix what you can't see, and I needed to see it, for myself. Darius exhaled shakily, relief and fear tangled inside him. For the first time that day, he smiled just slightly. Ava turned her gaze toward him. You spoke up, she said. That takes courage. He swallowed. I just told the truth. That's all integrity ever is, Ava answered. She looked back at the others, the stunned faces, the frozen smiles now gone. Then, calm as ever, she said, 5 minutes ago, I was your stranger. Now, I'm your audit. The room stood in absolute silence as the clock on the wall ticked toward revelation. The silence felt heavier than sound. Every person in the showroom stood frozen, waiting for someone else to speak first. But Ava didn't move, didn't flinch. She had lived in this moment before too many times, in too many rooms that looked just like this. Nancy tried to laugh, brittle and high. This has to be a joke, she said. You expect us to believe you just walked in here unannounced and owned the place? Ava's tone was calm but final. Yes. Behind her, the digital clock on the wall ticked louder than it should have. Each second dragged across the marble floor like a slow blade. Jeff tried to regain his footing. Even if you are who you say you are, this isn't how professionals behave. Walking in here pretending to be a customer? That's manipulation. Ava looked at him. No, it's observation. The air thinned. She turned slightly, her reflection flickering in the Bentley's mirror-like paint. For a second, her gaze drifted to the window where sunlight poured in just as it had on another day, years ago. Flashback, Atlanta. 2012. A younger Ava, hair pulled back, wearing a simple blazer. She stood in another dealership, smiling nervously as she handed over a check for her first car. The salesman had laughed then too. Sweetheart, you sure that's your signature? He'd said. Looks too fancy for you. And when the bank delayed verification by 10 minutes, they'd called security to escort the lady outside until we confirm. That night, she drove home in silence. That night, she promised herself, one day, I'll own the whole room that tried to push me out. The memory faded as fast as it came. Ava blinked once, steady again. Ma'am, the guard said carefully, still unsure whose orders to follow. Do you want me to? Stay right where you are, Ava interrupted. Her voice wasn't loud, but it carried the weight of final authority. Nancy tried again, voice trembling between defense and defiance. Look, this isn't about you. It's policy. We have procedures, security checks for all unverified guests. Come. Procedures, Ava repeated, taking a slow step forward. That never seemed to apply to certain kinds of guests, do they? No one answered. The truth hung between them like static. Carla looked up from her tablet. Ma'am, the corporate feed's recording every word. Do you wish to continue privately? Ava shook her head. No, they made this public. We'll keep it public. Nancy's mask of professionalism finally cracked. You can't just embarrass people like this. Quote, I didn't embarrass anyone, Ava said. You did. I just pressed record. Jeff mumbled, this is ridiculous, and turned toward the exit, but Carla's voice stopped him cold. Sir, leaving mid-audit will be considered non-compliance. I'd advise you to stay. He froze mid-step. Darius stood at the back, fists tightening at his sides. Watching Ava hold her ground was like seeing a door he'd never believed could open. Nancy's voice broke into the tension, quieter now, almost pleading. Why do this here, in front of everyone? Ava's answer was steady. Because that's how you did it to me. For a moment, even the fluorescent lights seemed to dim. Ava turned her eyes toward the cameras mounted in every corner. This footage will stay in training archives, she said. so no one forgets what happens when respect becomes optional. She turned back to the manager. Nancy, when you told security to remove me, you weren't enforcing policy, you were enforcing prejudice. Come. Nancy's lip trembled, but she said nothing. Ava looked around the room, the polished cars, the frozen faces, the truth laid bare, and exhaled. This place looks expensive, she said, but today, we just found out what it really costs. And as she finished speaking, a quiet alert chimed through Carla's tablet. Protocol 5 ready. Termination queue initiated. Ava nodded once. Begin it. The room didn't just hold tension anymore, it held judgment. And judgment had finally chosen its side. A low electronic hum filled the room as the system came alive. The dealership's monitors glowed brighter, shifting from car ads to a new screen. Protocol 5, conduct verification in progress. For the first time that morning, Nancy stepped back, the color drained from her face. Ava didn't raise her voice. She didn't have to. Power, when real, didn't need volume. Every minute of this interaction, she said quietly, has been logged to our corporate audit network. Your words, your actions, your tone. Marcus looked around, panic breaking through his arrogance. You can't just, this isn't legal. Carla didn't even look up. It's in your contract, sir. All customer interactions are subject to review by ownership. Jeff swore under his breath, stepping closer to Nancy. You said she was bluffing. Nancy's lips trembled. I thought she was. Darius stayed silent, watching the whole thing unfold like a storm moving slow and deliberate. For months he'd endured Nancy's offhand remarks about dress codes and brand image. He'd seen the double standards. And now the truth stood center stage, wearing a burgundy dress and unshakable calm. Ava took one slow step forward. This isn't about punishment, she said, her voice steady. It's about pattern. You've turned prejudice into policy. I'm here to end it. Nancy finally snapped. You don't understand the pressure we're under. Clients expect a certain atmosphere, a certain type of people representing the brand. Ava's eyes narrowed. A certain type, she repeated. Say what you mean, Nancy. No answer. Just silence, and the quiet ticking of the wall clock. Ava's phone buzzed. Carla read the message aloud. Headquarters confirms full executive authority. They're observing in real time. The words struck like a gavel. Ava turned toward the staff. Anyone who's here to work with integrity, stay where you are. Anyone who can't, leave now. The two salesmen exchanged a glance. Marcus muttered, I'm not standing here for this circus, and stormed toward the exit. But as he passed the automatic doors, his ID badge beeped red, locked. Carla didn't look up. System override. No one leaves until the review concludes. The arrogance drained from the room completely. Nancy took a step back, then another. You're making a spectacle of us. No, Ava said softly. You made a spectacle of me. I'm just turning on the lights. She turned to Darius. Bring up the internal complaint records. He hesitated. Ma'am, are you sure? That's restricted to management. Your management now, Ava said. He blinked, then opened the console. Dozens of archived reports appeared on the main display, anonymous complaints from employees, all dismissed by Nancy. Everyone stamped, resolved, no action. A murmur rippled through the staff who had gathered by the service desk. They had never seen those files. Carla read the timestamps aloud. 16 reports in 9 months. 8 involving racial profiling of clients. All signed off by you, Nancy. Nancy's voice cracked. Those weren't verified. Ava looked straight at her. Neither were your assumptions about me. Then she turned to the room. The words deliberate and measured. You thought I came here to buy a car. I came here to measure your character. And in 5 minutes, you showed me everything I needed to see. Carla's tablet chimed again. Corporate requests authorization for immediate disciplinary action. Ava nodded once. Approved. The sound of deactivated keycards echoed through the speakers, a series of soft electronic tones that felt like thunder. Nancy's knees weakened. She clutched the counter to steady herself. You're destroying us. No, Ava said. I'm rebuilding what you broke. Quote. And as the system finalized its report, the giant dealership logo on the wall faded into a single phrase, glowing white against black glass. integrity restored. For the first time all day, Ava let herself breathe. She wasn't angry. She was finished pretending that silence was grace. Justice, she realized, could be quiet and still shake the entire room. The hum of the showroom had vanished. What remained was the sound of breathing, shallow, uneven, human, the kind that filled the space between truth and consequence. Nancy clutched the counter like a lifeline, her pearl bracelet trembling against the glass. "Please," she said, her voice small now. "Let's just talk about this privately." Ava didn't move. Her stillness was its own language. "We already did," she said quietly. "You just didn't listen." Carla's tablet emitted a soft tone. "Corporate confirms full transmission. All staff present are on record." Quote. Ava turned toward the group, the same people who had laughed 5 minutes ago. She studied their faces, not with anger, but with understanding sharpened into steel. "I started this company 15 years ago," she said, "with one rule: no one walks through our doors and feels smaller than they are." She took a breath, her voice tightening slightly, the kind of restraint that carried more weight than fury. "And yet here we are, a team that forgot its own foundation, a brand that polished the cars, but not the hearts." Marcus, standing by the locked exit, muttered, "You could have warned us." Ava turned slowly. "I did. In every policy, in every meeting you tuned out, in every reminder that character matters more than commission." Her voice didn't rise. It deepened, calm, deliberate, irrevocable. "You called me unverified. You said I didn't belong. You ordered security to remove me in a dealership I built." Each sentence fell like a measured strike, no shouting, just truth made heavy. Jeff tried to speak, but the words caught in his throat. Nancy looked at him, then at Ava, realizing there was nowhere left to hide. Ava's phone vibrated once. She pressed the side button and placed it on the counter. The screen illuminated with a corporate seal, Summit Motors Executive Authority Verification, and beneath it, her name in bold letters, Ava Johnson, founder and CEO. The image reflected in the glass, magnified by the polished surface. No one dared look away. Darius exhaled quietly, eyes wide. He whispered, "She's really the owner." And the weight of the realization rolled through the room like thunder beneath glass. Ava leaned slightly forward. "You see, Nancy," she said softly, "you weren't wrong about the kind of woman I am, just about what kind of power I carry." The room remained utterly silent. Even the security guard, who had once stood ready to escort her out, lowered his gaze. Carla spoke up, crisp and clear. "Effective immediately, the following employees are suspended pending termination review." But Ava lifted a hand, stopping her. "Not yet. Let them hear it from me." She faced them directly. "When you told me I didn't belong, you weren't speaking to me. You were speaking to every woman who's ever walked into a room and been measured by her reflection instead of her record. To every man who's been told success doesn't fit his skin tone. You didn't humiliate me, you revealed yourselves." Quote. Nancy's eyes shimmered with disbelief, her voice cracking. "Why would you do this? You could have walked in like a queen, demanded respect from the start." "I didn't come for respect," Ava said. "I came for honesty, and you gave me plenty." Her gaze swept the entire room. Darius, standing straighter now. The guard, silent and ashamed. The salesman, pale and small. 5 minutes, she said. "That's all it took to see the truth. And that's all I needed." Quote. She paused, her final words quiet, but seismic. "You called me a fraud in a place I built. You tried to remove me from a space I created. And now I'm removing what doesn't belong here." The overhead lights flickered once as Carla pressed a key on her tablet. On every monitor, a single message appeared. Termination initiated. Executive Directive A, J. Ava didn't smile. She simply stood in the center of her own empire, finally visible and utterly undeniable. The sound of the automatic locks, releasing, echoed through the showroom like a quiet thunderclap. Nancy flinched. Marcus froze mid-step. Jeff whispered something under his breath that no one cared to hear. On every screen, the company logo faded into a cold gray prompt. Access revoked. Employee status terminated. Ava stood still as the words spread across the monitors, multiplying in reflection across chrome and glass. She didn't speak. She didn't have to. Power now spoke for her. Carla looked up from her tablet. Authorization complete. Headquarters received confirmation. All 3 staff members, Nancy Drew, Marcus Lane, Jeffrey Cole, terminated effective immediately. The final word landed with surgical precision. Nancy staggered a half step forward, her voice breaking. You can't just end people's careers over a misunderstanding. Ava turned slowly, her gaze steady. A misunderstanding ends when truth arrives. And it's here now. Jeff tried to appeal to logic. We were following protocol. Protocol? Ava repeated. That's what you call bias when it's dressed in a suit. Darius, still standing near the service desk, watched in disbelief as years of quiet arrogance dissolved in seconds. He'd seen these same people dismiss him, interrupt him, talk over him in meetings. Now, their words were gone, replaced by silence that carried consequence. Nancy's face hardened. You've humiliated us in front of everyone. Do you know what this will do to our reputations? Ava's tone stayed even. Reputation isn't what people say about you when you win. It's what they remember when you fall. She took a step closer, her heels clicking against the marble. You told me I didn't belong. You mocked a customer based on how she looked. You forgot that humility is part of luxury. Nancy opened her mouth to speak, but no sound came. The shame was louder than any defense. Carla's tablet buzzed again. Ma'am, corporate wants to proceed with reassignments. Not yet, Ava said. Her eyes stayed on Nancy. Before you leave, I want you to hear something. She gestured to Darius. Play back the footage. He hesitated, then tapped a key. The big screen lit up with the recording the moment Nancy said, "Security, get her out," followed by the laughter, the scoffs, the disbelief. The same words that had started it all. The playback filled the space like ghosts of arrogance returning home. Ava let it run for 20 seconds before raising her hand. Stop. The silence after the clip was deafening. She turned to the staff and remaining employees. This isn't about firing people. It's about cleansing a culture. What happened here happens every day in places that claim to be professional. It ends here, at least in my company. Nancy swallowed hard, eyes glistening. So that's it? You're just done with us? Ava's answer was simple, almost tender. No, I'm done protecting people who mistake prejudice for policy. Carla stepped forward, her voice steady. Security will escort you out now. The guard, the same man who had once reached for Ava's arm, nodded respectfully. Ma'am, he said to Ava quietly, I'm sorry for earlier. She met his eyes. Then learn from it. Nancy tried to hold her composure as she walked toward the exit, each step heavier than the last. The automatic doors slid open with a quiet sigh, like the building itself was relieved. Jeff followed, silent. Marcus trailed last, muttering, unbelievable, under his breath. But his voice had no strength left. When the doors shut behind them, Ava turned to the remaining team, the mechanics, the receptionists, the young trainees still standing in awe. What you just saw, she said, is not revenge. It's restoration. Quite. She looked around the gleaming room, her reflection mirrored on every surface. Luxury means nothing without respect. And from this day on, that will be the new standard. No applause followed. Just stillness, reverent, cleansing, absolute. In the silence, Ava finally smiled. It wasn't triumph. It was peace. The air inside the dealership felt different now, lighter, clearer, almost reverent. The storm had passed, leaving truth behind like sunlight after rain. Ava stood near the center of the showroom, hands folded, the soft hum of the ceiling lights, now a rhythm instead of a roar. The same space that had once rejected her now waited for her words. Darius stepped closer, unsure if he should speak. Miss Johnson, he said quietly, what happens now? Ava turned to him with a faint smile. Now we rebuild. But this time, from the inside out. Carla nodded, already typing on her tablet. Corporate's ready to issue your directive, ma'am. Quote, not a directive, Ava said. A declaration. She walked to the front of the showroom where the company's motto shimmered in silver letters. Excellence in motion. Her reflection hovered beneath it, poised and powerful. I built this company so that people could dream, she began, her voice calm but carrying. But somewhere along the way, some of us forgot that dignity is part of the design. The employees listened, some humbled, some inspired, all changed. Luxury isn't the leather you sit on, Ava continued. It's the way someone's treated before they even touch the keys. Carla looked up from the tablet. Would you like me to record this for the board? Ava shook her head. No, this isn't for them. This is for us. She faced the team directly. Starting today, every new hire will train not only in sales or service but in empathy. Every dealership under our name will have zero tolerance for prejudice. And every customer, no matter how they look, will be treated like they belong. Because they do. Her words didn't rise. They settled slow, deliberate, unforgettable. Darius swallowed, his voice barely above a whisper. I'll make sure they remember that. Ava smiled. Good. You'll lead this branch. Effective immediately. His eyes widened. Me? You earned it when you spoke the truth, she said simply. He nodded, emotion flickering behind his composure. Ava turned back toward the glass doors, where sunlight streamed in across the polished floor. 5 minutes, she murmured. That's all it took to expose a broken culture. But it'll take years to build something better. That's the work worth doing. She glanced back once more at the team who remained not as subordinates, but as witnesses. I didn't raise my voice, she said, walking toward the light. I raised the standard, and as the doors opened for her this time, no one stopped her. They simply stood taller, finally understanding what power looks like when it walks with grace.